If I can have our wonderful students come on up.
I am originally from Nicaragua. I am 20 years old. I happen to turn 21 this month. I come from a family of a U.S. citizen parent and a TPS mom. So right now I'm in my immigration process. And for this reason, I think I'm the only one right now that's not really into a college or university. I am currently taking continuing classes at the community college at Randolph County back home. And the reason why I decided to take, since I graduated in 2010, these 2 years off, was because, again, being the daughter of a citizen, the process is very long. If you guys are familiar with the immigration process, it's very complicated. Even though you have a citizen parent, it gets tougher and tougher. So I decided to take a break because, to me, it was going to be sort of, I don't want to use the word dumb kind of thing, but I'm going to have to. Because I don't want to pay the out-of-state tuition, which is outrageous, for undocumented students to pay. And when I will have to leave, because that's just a case of, children of citizens. So I will have to leave, and which is I'm in the process of figuring out my living time in a year or so. So that's the reason why I didn't decide to go to school, and I'm just taking some continuing classes for non-profits. So I'm in the non-profit public relations area. I am a board member for 3 years of the Latino Coalition of Randolph County. So because of my story and my background, I decided to take the initiative and become a youth leader type of thing. I organize the youth group at the coalition. We do a youth event every year and also other leadership events. So in this area, because my case is very different, I try to help other kids, stay in school, motivate them, because that's what the youth group does. It helps these kids see different stories, just like the ones that you're going to see tonight. And they see me and they see other students, documented, undocumented, moving forward and doing other things. So these programs have really helped a lot of kids because they do not see me as a role model. They see the coalition and the work that we do as a role model to stay in school, to achieve higher things. We have had several students since I started, that have graduated and are currently in college. And I am glad to say that right now I'm in the midst of planning an event in 2 weeks, and I am glad to count with those students, that have been in the programs that I have done in the past. So they are coming back and helping the community. Thank you.
And what is your personal story, experience in school?
I guess going back, I graduated top of my class. I was the only Latina, and I went to a very, very conservative Southern high school. And as I was sharing earlier, I went from a middle school, when I got right here, when middle school, I wasn't in a diversity school, so I didn't face racism or racial segregation as much as I did when I went to high school. To me, that was a little tough, because I went from being in a diverse group, at least when I was in middle school, I didn't have a label. I was just the new students from Nicaragua, and that was more than enough for me. I come to this very conservative Southern school, and I was automatically a Mexican. To me, it did bother me a little bit because I didn't have much experience in the Mexican culture, so I didn't know. And I was the only Latina in the class, so I was always segregated. I was sharing with the students earlier how, I've never had any group because I was always the Latina, and all my students, even though some of them were documented and undocumented, just because it was predominantly white in Southern school, they were afraid to take the challenge to take other classes. So I graduated top of my class. I could have I had Joyce asked me earlier if I would have had, some opportunities to go to school. I did have them. I graduated top of my class. I qualified for many schools and many scholarships. But I guess I had a fear factor that if I went ahead with it, I was going to have to drop out because of my current process with immigration. So that has been my experience in the school area.
My name is Oscar Aviles. I am 19 years old and I'm a first year at UNC at Chapel Hill. And I came to this country when I was 5 years old from Honduras. My family consists of 2 parents who have TPS status and my brother who is a U.S. citizen. So out of the 4 of us, I'm the only one who's undocumented. Ever since I was small, I always wanted to go to college. That was my dream. It was my only dream. I know other kids wanted to go to Disney World. I wanted to go to college. I set my priorities straight, really. But however, when I was small, I didn't know that there was a thing that could stop me from going to college. I didn't know that my status in this country would limit my opportunities and to pursue higher education. However, I embraced it. I knew I was undocumented around middle school, but I didn't let that define me. I worked hard, really hard, to set my goals in order, improve my grades. I graduated at the top of my class. That was one of the greatest achievements that I've had. And when I got to high school, it was a program called SLI that really helped me basically reach my full potential and showed me that I could really do it. I could go to college and I was not going to let anything stop me. Now SLI is a program based at UNC which partners UNC sophomores with high school students at 3 locations, Lee County, Jordan Matthews, and Sauer City where I'm from, and in Asheville. Basically, the program dedicates themselves to basically encouraging Latino students to pursue education, have higher education in their mind. They provide a college course so that you would be able to basically say, hey, I took a college course and I was able to pass it, and we had assignments. A professor came and taught to us every 2 months. Actually every 2 weeks and every month. We had essay writing that improved my essay writing basically. And basically they had our backs. They knew we could achieve a higher goal than we had previously thought. They didn't let us stop at just a high school diploma. They said you could go to college and do whatever you want to do, whatever you have your mindset to do. So if it wasn't for SLI, I probably wouldn't be here. I probably wouldn't be at UNC. They did so much for me, and I'm really grateful for SLI and the program. And thanks to them, I'm going to my dream school at UNC, and I don't have to pay out-of-state tuition. My education is paid for, and I'm so grateful for that. And now I can become a role model for not only a community, but for my little brother, who last week he told me that he looked up to me, and he actually told me that he wants to go to UNC too. And I was like, it's the best decision you could ever make. But basically, I could do this, and so many students around North Carolina can do this. I'm going to college. I'm going to go and double major in political science and business. And basically, I want to create the change that I want to see in this world. I want more Latino students to come into this country, or if they're already born here, to embrace the Latino culture and basically succeed in this country. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Carolina Alando. I am 18 and I'm currently first year at Salem College. And I just want to talk to you a little bit about my own experience growing up. And it wasn't until earlier that Greg was talking about school and then the question about tracking that I realized that I was put in an ESL program when it wasn't necessary for me to be in an ESL program because I had done preschool for almost 3 years. So I was fluent in English, I understood English, I knew what I was doing. But I was in ESL for 2 years. And then it wasn't until right now that I realized that it was because I was Latina that it was automatically assumed that I would not know what was going on. But later on in school, my parents both went to college, so in Mexico, we're all undocumented. And They always told me I was going to go to college, and that was fine. I didn't care. Okay, let's go to college. You know what was going to happen. But then in middle school, there was a lot of classmates that told me I couldn't, and I didn't understand. So one day I talked to my parents, and they explained what it meant to be undocumented. And it was only until then that I had a doubt about, am I going to be able to do this? Am I going to be able to go to college? How am I going to pay for this? Because we don't have the funds to pay out of state tuition. And I just continued working because some way or another it was going to happen. There was no way I was not going to go to college. That was given in my life. My parents went to college through many more obstacles than what I'm going through. And this was going to happen no matter what. But then I got to high school, and I was doing all the college courses. I graduated top 5, and I started applying to schools. And I wasn't going to apply to Salem, because I didn't know about Salem. I didn't know what it was about or anything. But I went and talked to my counselor, because that's one of the requirements for a scholarship that I was trying to do. And she was like, why don't you apply to Salem? You don't have anything to lose. So it was thanks to her that I actually put forth the application. And later on, I was notified that I was in the running for full tuition scholarship. And then I went to the scholarship weekend they had in February. I went through an interview process, and I spoke to one of their professors, the director of the Honors College at Salem. And thanks to her and my opening up about being undocumented and telling my story, I have a full scholarship to Salem. I don't have to pay for anything. And now I realize that it was a support network that I slowly developed through my life that has influenced me and kept me going through school, even through the adversity that other people created for me. Like earlier, the fear, like everybody else's fear. You have to find people that will combat that. You have to be your own light, or you can always ask somebody for help. And a lot of Latino people I've noticed don't ask for help or don't like join into things like what he was doing, like scholarship or scholar Latino, like what he was doing. A lot of people won't take the chance to do that, or because they feel like because they're Latino, they're already limited. And it was like through these experiences that I realized that being Latina doesn't mean you cannot do this. It just a little bit harder, but you can do this. And I want to become a role model for people so they can see that if I could do it, they definitely can. I'm just a regular person, and I'm here. You can definitely try. Go for what you want to do with your life. And I'm currently a pre-law double major in English and psychology. Thank you.
Hola, yo soy la estudiante que va a hablar español. Soy mexicana, tengo 18 años y curso mi primer año en la Universidad de Merritt College en Raleigh. Mis padres viven en Salt Lake City, es mi lugar donde yo llegué. Cuando tenía 6 años, yo decidí mismamente aprender inglés. Mi papá estaba aquí de documentado y yo quería aprender. Yo no sabía qué era el inglés, yo no sabía qué iba a pasar conmigo, yo solamente quería aprender inglés. Entonces a los 6 años yo decidí voy a ir. Cuando tenía 8 y medio, mi tía acababa de regresar de aquí de Carolina del Norte hacia México y me propuso jugando que me viniera con ella. Yo no la rechacé y me vine. Dejé a mi familia, dejé a mis amigos, dejé todo porque yo quería un futuro mejor. Yo quería ser esa muchacha que luchaba por el sueño, que mi sueño era aprender inglés. Nunca pensé que me iba a encontrar con tantas cosas como tener que aprender el idioma, tener que ser discriminada, tener que ser la persona que a muchos maestros, bueno, en el sistema cuando yo llegué aquí, no les interesaba. Nunca se tomaron la molestia de decir necesitas ayuda. Nunca se tomaron la molestia de darme aliento a seguir mi sueño. Entonces, cuando yo llegué aquí, casi aprendí sola en inglés. No me podía quedar después de la escuela porque no tenía transporte. Mi familia estaba lejos. Yo no tenía nadie. Soy la primera generación que llega a la universidad. Soy la primera mujer que está en la universidad de mi familia. Todos me decían, no puedes, eres mujer, eres latina, el inglés no es tu primer idioma, tú no puedes. En vez de tomar esa negatividad como, ok, no puedo, me doy por vencida, no voy a poder seguir mi sueño, no, lo tomé como un reto. Lo tomé y dije, bueno, yo les voy a demostrar que yo puedo, que tengo las habilidades, que necesito ayuda. Lo único que necesitaba era alguien que me orientara, alguien que dijera, sí, aquí estoy contigo. Mi familia no sabía cómo ayudarme. Mis papás no saben en inglés, no saben cómo funciona el sistema, todo lo tuve que hacer sola. Siempre tuve que fallar para aprender, ya que nadie estaba ahí, nadie me guió. Esto pasó desde que llegué aquí, que llegué en el 4º grado, hasta la secundaria, hasta la preparatoria, mi segundo año de preparatoria. Hasta que mi maestro de historia, el señor J. Palmer, me dijo, yo voy a ser tu apoyo. Te invito a mi organización que se llama LIO, que se llama Liderazgo, Experiencia y Oportunidades. Fue cuando empecé a abrir los ojos y dije, yo puedo, soy indocumentada, pero yo puedo. Si llegué tan lejos y dejé a mi familia por 1 año y medio, y crucé yo sola, ¿por qué no voy a poder ir a la universidad cuando ya sé el idioma, cuando sé que hay alguien cerca de mí para ayudarme? Entonces empecé a hacer mi servicio comunitario. En mi 3er año conocí al señor Silvio Balcazar, que es coordinador del grupo del Vínculo Hispano. El Vínculo Hispano es una fundación sin fines de lucros que ayuda a la comunidad en Chatham County. Ellos me dieron la fuerza de decir, tú puedes, pero tú eres una líder. Tú estás aquí y tú puedes hacerlo. Confía en ti. Me dieron talleres, me enseñaron a tener confianza en mis capacidades. Fui presidenta y durante mi año ganamos un mini grant de $1,000 para un proyecto ambientalista. Con eso rompimos muchos estereotipos en mi comunidad en Silver City. Eso me ayudó a tener más empeño en seguir luchando por la universidad. Yo también fui parte de Strong Latino Initiative como Oscar. Tuve mi mentora Jacqueline Bonilla. Ella me ayudó a aprender cómo usar mis habilidades para llegar a la universidad. Estoy orgullosa de decir que sí se puede. Solamente necesitamos esa ayuda. Y claro, ustedes, como parte de la comunidad, los necesitamos a ustedes. Necesitamos que ustedes nos digan, sí, ustedes pueden. Cuando a veces el sistema educativo nos dice que no. Estoy orgullosa de ser mexicana, estoy orgullosa de estar en la escuela. Estoy orgullosa de ser un ejemplo a seguir en mi familia. Gracias.
Hello everybody, my name is Amanda Camacho and I am a senior at North Carolina A&T State University and I'm studying Spanish education. I'm from Puerto Rican descent, originally born in Brooklyn, New York, and I live here in Greensboro now. And my story is a little bit different than everybody else's here. I mean, I'm documented by birth. I didn't really face many of the obstacles that my peers here have faced. But I always knew college was going to be what I was going to do. It wasn't an option not to go to college. And when I was in high school, I didn't really know how I was going to pay for college, but I knew that I had to go. I didn't know how financial aid worked. I didn't know how to apply for scholarships or where to find them. But I always got good grades because I knew good grades equal scholarships. And one day I got a little pamphlet in the mail, and it was from a scholarship called North Carolina Teaching Fellows. And that scholarship pretty much changed my life because that scholarship allowed me to go to A&T on a full ride, and it's something that I'm really grateful for. But something that I came across, I guess, during the application process for the scholarship was that there were other students in my school that also applied for that scholarship, though I wasn't aware. And there were, after I turned in my application, I turned it in early. I wanted to make sure, I beat the deadline. After I turned in my application, I found out that the guidance counselor at my school had set up these, I guess, essay revision sessions, and just to make sure that everybody's applications were going to be, perfect, and there were going to be no flaws. And they had fake interviews or mock interviews for the students. And I was never informed of any of these things. And so when I found out after the fact, it kind of hurt me a little bit that all my peers that had applied that were not Latino were all, I guess, had help, and I didn't. And so I just used that as motivation. I just used that to do well in my interviews and to let them know that, okay, I'm Latino, and maybe you didn't want me in your mock interview, but I'm gonna go do good at the real interview. And so that's what I did. And out of about 15 of us that applied, only 5 of us actually received a scholarship. And my counselor, she just kind of seemed a little shocked at the whole thing. Like, wow, you're a Latina and you applied to universities and you got this scholarship and you had no help. And it wasn't any thanks to her, but thanks to my family and my motivation and something negative that I turned into a positive for me. And so I'm very grateful for the scholarship. I'm very grateful for A&T because they pretty much put in the rest. I got a $26,000 scholarship. So it wasn't a full ride, but A&T did put in the rest of my tuition so that I could go to A&T for free. And I'm in my senior year and I haven't paid 1 cent. And so I'm very thankful for that.
What are you doing after your senior year?
Well, after my senior year, I plan to go to grad school and continue my education, get a master's in physical education.
Now let's take a moment now and first of all, give a wonderful round of applause. Every time we have a student panel, I just feel so grateful and inspired that they just walk through fire to get where they are, and it's amazing that they do. So we'd like to take a couple minutes to have questions from the audience for our student panel. And this is Silvio, who has done an amazing job supporting 2 of our students.
¿Podrían decir algunos de ustedes opiniones respecto a ese gap de los chicos que se le llama el 57%, que no es el chico que está representado acá en esta mesa, que es el chico que está en el top de la clase, consigue becas, que es la muestra la cara del movimiento? No hay un 57% de chicos hispanos que no encajan en este estereotipo, lo cual que hace que no consigan esa ayuda. Me gustaría escuchar, porque yo sé que muchos de acá han tenido esos compañeros que no han sido top de clase, que no han conseguido la beca. ¿Cómo a esos chicos los vamos a ayudar? Ellos lo hacen porque yo, entonces me gustaría escucharlos.
Usted preguntó cómo ayudas a un muchacho que no es un estudiante excelente, excepcional.
El tema es básicamente que el movimiento estudiantil para jóvenes indocumentados está liderado por la cara visible siempre por los chicos que son top of the class. Pero atrás, según las estadísticas, hay alrededor del 60% de chicos que no son top of the class, que van mal en la escuela. Entonces, los chicos también merecen apoyo. ¿Cómo se les ayuda a ellos?
Si hay algo que a mí me ha gustado bastante de oír pues a Craig, lo que hace la Society, es que hay en North Carolina hay muchísimas organizaciones que ese es su trabajo, ¿verdad? Ayudar, ellos tienen programas, ayudar a estos chicos, esos estudiantes, mi experiencia con las escuelas, at-risk students. Y hay programas que se hacen para todo eso. Ahora hay programas como el que ustedes tienen, como lo que nosotros hacemos, donde les ayudamos y les damos lo que es una little cheat sheet, ¿verdad? Cómo es que ellos pueden llegar a la escuela. Ahora, yo sé, como decía Amanda, ¿verdad? A veces la escuela no tenemos el apoyo de maestros, de counselors, pero siempre hay uno ¿verdad? Hay una persona que va a sobresalir sobre todos, que los va a apoyar. Y lo algo que yo les decía a unos estudiantes voluntarios que tuve una reunión la semana pasada, siempre va a haber esa persona. Una, ¿verdad? Tienes que sacar a alguien de millón. Y una cosa que yo he aprendido últimamente, porque esta es la primera vez que yo comparto mi historia siempre es para mí. Y algo que aprendí de Carolina es de que si tú hablas con alguien y tú compartes, vas a sacar muchísimas cosas, ¿verdad? Entonces es ahí donde estos muchachos tienen que salir no come out, ya sea de su estatus, pero de que necesiten ayuda. Porque hay dos tipos de muchachos, el que quiere la ayuda y el que quiere hacer algo, y el que no la quiere. Y yo tengo claro que si usted quiere, usted puede. Si no quiere, de ahí no vamos a pasar. Pero gracias a Dios hay todas esas organizaciones y toda esta gente que siempre va a ayudar. Y algo que también pasa es que hay luego esas personas que sobresalen y que siempre van la milla extra, que ellos siempre preguntan a todos, ¿verdad? Aunque ven que no le interesa, pero una vez que la persona se aproxima al muchacho y el muchacho ya se abre con él.
¿Alguien más quiere responder a la pregunta?
I just want to make sure that I understood the question correctly. It's basically how to help students that were not top of the class, not exceptional, not like us over here. Okay, so I feel like a lot of that has to do with the teachers that they have when they're young, first through third grade or kindergarten through third grade, because like they were saying, that's when they put them on this track of this is what they can achieve without actually knowing what their full potential is. And I said that from experience because I was doing an internship last year at an elementary school, and there was the one Hispanic girl in the class, and as soon as I got there, the teacher said, "Oh, I need you to help her because I don't think she really knows how to read." I was in a first and second grade classroom, mixed students. The little girl was of Mexican descent, but she was born in New Mexico. The teacher never knew that she was not born in Mexico. They told me, she's Mexican, born there, she doesn't know English, and she can't read. Please help her. That little girl read to me for about 15 minutes, and it was already about a month or two into school, and I feel like that was the longest she had read or was able to read, given a chance to read throughout that school year thus far. The teacher didn't know that she could read, didn't know that she was fluent in English, didn't know that she was a U.S. citizen, and it just shows a lot of how powerful a teacher can be or cannot be. And if the teacher was just there to embrace or to help her achieve her full potential, then she would achieve a lot more. But when teachers don't, they kind of overlook these things, or they place these kids in these stereotypes, or they place these kids in these tracks that sometimes lead to special ed, it really limits what a student can do when they go to middle school or high school, and really determines sometimes whether or not they'll go to college.
Thank you. Otra pregunta, another question? Hold on, we have a question right here.
Hi, I'm Nancy. I'm the president of WOLNAS at Wake Forest, so I'd like to make a connection with you guys. I'm also from North Carolina. I'm from Hendersonville, North Carolina. That's Western North Carolina. And there aren't really any programs like the SLI or any of the other LEO programs that you guys mentioned. In Western North Carolina, I know because I lived there. My little sister is a high schooler and hasn't gotten a lot of guidance that way. So my kind of question draws to the people in the audience and you guys that do have experience with these programs that reach out to Latino youth. In Western North Carolina, in my class, I was the only Latina out of about 20 that actually went to college. The rest of my peers were pregnant or already had their kids. So I don't know, I feel like that what he was talking about, the other 57 or 67%, a lot of them might come from Western North Carolina, where we're a little bit ignored still because it's still predominantly white. So I don't know, I really want to go back there and like start these programs, but I'm a broke college student, I can't really do anything. So I don't know if like, get any tips on what I can do or any connections or I don't know.
If I can suggest, and Teresa's going to answer, and then I'll say that perhaps you can hang around at the end, and there are folks from North Carolina, Western North Carolina here in the audience from, woo, Western organizations, and you can talk to them about what may or may not exist, what's happening already there. So Teresa, will you answer that, and then we'll take one more question or respond to that?
My name is Teresa Isabel. I'm not from Henderson. I'm in Concord, North Carolina. We're actually 5 minutes from the Speedway. The Speedway is actually in Concord. They just call it Charlotte Speedway. So I'm very happy that I'm here to listen to these stories, because these are the stories that brought me to the Hispanic Learning Center. I do this program at my church, and I almost was driven away from my church, and a lot of people call me a Mexican lover, because I mentor kids there. I help them find college, I help them find scholarships. So when the opportunity came for me to actually do this work, and I jumped on it. If you want to come to the Hispanic Learning Center for an internship, we will be glad to have you. You can volunteer. We don't have a lot of funding, but I will find somebody in the community to help, with a little money for gas and other things. We do accept students. I do have connection with teaching fellow. I work at the university for 11 years. So if anything that we can do for you, we'll be glad to do it. Also, we just started preschool, because we want to reach the kids early. We want to show them how to read. We want to help the community and help the parents understand, instead of waiting till when they are 4th, 5th grade to help them do homework. So we started preschool this fall. Thank you.
Another question for our students?
I believe it's the students' responsibility to look up there for scholarships, so I admire you guys to go on and for the various that was in front. My question is, I believe parents are a big player on how fast or how the kids are going to go ahead. How do you guys got your parents involved, if they did? Or do you know any programs for parents to, because I think it's very important, to educate them also how to support you guys. So anybody that got their parents, because I know she mentioned her parents were in Mexico.
Creo que, mis padres se empezaron a involucrar cuando fui ingresada a Strong Latino Initiative. Es un programa que no solamente nos educa a nosotros cómo llegar a la universidad, sino también hace que los papás tomen en cuenta que sí, tu hija, somos indocumentados, pero eso no significa que tienes que parar solamente en la preparatoria. También con el grupo juvenil del vínculo hispano, hicimos que también que nos ayudaran, ayudar como voluntario, tratar de que, no saben inglés, no significa que tampoco pueden ayudar a la comunidad. Mis papás siempre tenían miedo de ir a las juntas de la escuela, pero algo que ayudó fue que yo misma también asistía a las juntas de la escuela y yo les traducía. Yo ayudaba a que ellos también aprendieran, que ellos también se involucraran, que preguntaran a través de mí, ya que muchos papás no saben inglés. La mejor herramienta que pueden utilizar los papás es también los hijos. Los papás pueden preguntarle a los hijos y usar los hijos como medio a otras personas, y también las organizaciones cuentan mucho en cómo hacen que los padres se involucren. Entonces yo creo que tratando de que los padres también sean voluntarios y que los papás y los hijos hagan las mismas actividades, ayuda a que muchos de ellos se eduquen. Y yo ahora que estoy en la universidad, mis papás están aprendiendo y ellos también educan a otros papás. Es una cadena, y pues hay que tratar de, como nosotros, en mi caso, yo traté de educar a mis papás ya cuando yo aprendí. Entonces yo eduqué a mis papás educan a otras personas. Y así creo que funciona la cadena de tratar de que los papás participen.
I want to offer a little contrast to that, because I mentioned that I went to a preschool earlier, And now that you've commented that you're starting one, the preschool that I went to had a parent program that went right alongside with the student program. And my parents both they already knew English when they came. My dad did because he learned that in college, but that's not good. So when he got to here, he didn't really need the program at the preschool, but he went through it. So I think that's something that we should suggest and encourage parents to do if they have small children and they know they're going to put them into a preschool or some kind of early learning program, that they try to do something right alongside them, because they're not, there's also learning what's going on in schools in North Carolina and the United States, because of course it's very different from home countries. And even if you do speak the language from your home, that you learned in your home country, this is like an opportunity to learn about what you're doing here in North Carolina and in the United States at large.
So one more question for our student panel and then we'll wrap up. One question, Ronald?
No, solo, bueno, como comentario, Yasmín dijo que ella interpretó para sus padres, ¿no? Y creo que es una experiencia que pasan muchos niños, o sea, creciendo, o sea, que es algo que, una experiencia que tienen que vivir. Y Yasmín en su caso fue muy, o sea, ayudó mucho en ese caso, ¿no? Pero también quiero alentar a de que busquemos cómo presionar a las escuelas para que proveen esos recursos, porque muchas veces para los niños ponerlos en esa situación puede ser complicado, o incluso en otras situaciones cuando hay una emergencia médica o alguna situación de ese tipo, ¿no? Es una situación difícil para poner a ciertos menores de edad, ¿no? Entonces, algo para que pensemos siempre cómo proveer, cómo tener espacios así bilingües, cómo buscar intérpretes y traductores que apoyen a los niños para que no tengan esa carga inmensa en sus hombros y realmente haya el recurso para que los padres puedan involucrarse plenamente sin tener que depender solamente de los niños, ¿no?
Y Juan, el último comentario.
It has to be good, Juan.
It has to be good. But I have been a teacher in this country for, 13 years and working in high school environment until last June when I decided to quit because I felt more depressed than my students sometimes, being Latino and seeing so much stuff going on. I decided it was time for me to go to a different corner and raise my voice. Now I'm preparing future teachers in North Carolina, so I hope they can do a better job. But anyway, I'm so glad to hear these kids' stories. I know 4 of them through Asheboro City Schools or through SLIDE because I was also a mentor. It took me weekends off to take some of those kids from Asheboro City School to Chapel Hill to learn and be empowered by some other leaders. But I also want to advocate for those students who are not here tonight. And there are hundreds and hundreds. I think it was mentioned earlier here tonight, the high dropout rate that we have in this country among the Latino community. Those kids are not learning to navigate the system. Those kids resist the system, and those kids don't get help from anybody because sometimes parents don't know any better because parents work too hard. And this is our work as non-profit organizations to give an answers to those kids. I think there are many research studies that talk about how community organizations reach out those kids and empower them to learn the language, to keep the heritage alive, and to be successful. I think this is our goal. What they're telling us here tonight, that I'm taking it with me, is that they need our help. They need us to be there for them. If they don't have it in school, this is our job. Thank you.
You've heard several of the students mention the nonprofits that have been support systems, and Brittany earlier mentioned that HIP has funded 53 organizations across the state. These organizations are doing incredible work. Sometimes they're the only difference in these kids' lives between success and failure. So I really want to do a quick shout out to all the groups that are here and all the work you do every day, sometimes not knowing whether helping them at preschool will mean that they're graduating from college and going on to grad school. But what a difference that makes. So thank you to all of you who do the great work. Thank you, please, to our student panel for being with us.